You already know how to ask for what you want. You have been doing it your entire life. Asking the universe, asking God, asking life, asking through prayer, through visualization, through intention, through manifestation practice. And somewhere along the way, you started to wonder if anything was actually listening. Here is what I want to tell you. Something is always listening. The problem was never whether it listens. The problem is that you have been asking in a language it does not speak. And in the next 10 minutes, I am going to show you the language it actually speaks, the precise mechanics of how requests are received, processed, and answered at the level of consciousness that actually matters, and why everything you have ever genuinely received in your life, not everything you asked for, but everything you actually received, came to you not because you asked correctly, but because of something else entirely. Something you did without knowing you were doing it. Something that once you understand it, you will never ask the wrong way again. Stay with me, because the answer to how to get everything you want is not what the manifestation industry has ever told you it is. And the moment you understand it, you will realize you have always had access to it. Subscribe to Hermetic Mind right now and comment below. What is one thing you have asked for, repeatedly and genuinely, that has never arrived? Because that answer is the exact location of the misalignment I am about to reveal. Let me begin with a question that sounds simple, but is not. What is the difference between asking and receiving? Most people would say the answer. The universe either says yes or no. It either delivers or it does not. But that is not what actually happens. The universe does not say yes or no. It does not grant requests. It does not evaluate petitions. It does not weigh your worthiness against your desire and decide whether to deliver. The universe does something far more precise and far more impersonal than that. It reflects. It is not a wish-granting intelligence sitting above your life, evaluating your requests and deciding which ones to honor. It is a mirror, an infinitely precise, infinitely responsive, completely impartial mirror. And mirrors do not grant wishes. They reflect what stands before them. Which means the question is never what you are asking for. The question is always what you are being in the moment you ask. This is where the ancient wisdom becomes devastatingly practical. The Hermetic texts, the oldest recorded understanding of how consciousness interacts with reality, describe the process of asking not as petition, but as correspondence. Not "please give me this," but "I am already the frequency of this." The distinction is so precise that in the mystery schools of ancient Egypt, initiates spent years learning the difference between the two, because the practical results were completely different. A petition comes from someone who does not have what they are asking for. The signal it broadcasts, absence. The mirror reflects more absence. A correspondence comes from someone who has already aligned their inner state with the frequency of what they are calling forward. The signal it broadcasts, presence. The mirror reflects more presence. Same words, completely different relationship between the asker and the asked for. Completely different results. Every time. Now here is where it gets precise. Think about the things in your life that arrived without you having to work for them. Not the things you ground yourself into the ground chasing, the things that arrived. The relationship that found you when you stopped looking, the opportunity that appeared in a conversation you almost did not have, the financial opening that came from an unexpected direction at a moment when you had stopped trying so hard. Every single one of those arrivals had something in common. And it was not luck, it was not timing, it was not the universe rewarding you for patience or persistence. It was this. In each of those moments, you were not asking from absence. You were living from a state that was already in correspondence with what arrived. You were not reaching for it. You were being the frequency it resonated with, and the mirror showed you more of what you already were. This is not a spiritual concept. This is the most precisely documented pattern in the psychology of human experience. Abraham Hicks called it being in the vortex. Joe Dispenza calls it heart coherence. Carl Jung called it individuation, the state of internal unity in which a person stops broadcasting mixed signals and starts broadcasting a single, clear, unified frequency. All of them pointing to the same thing. The asking that works is not the asking you do. It is the being you are while you appear to be asking. And this is where most people get it completely wrong. They spend years refining the ask, better affirmations, more specific visualizations, more grateful feelings, more disciplined practices. They are working on the petition while the being remains unchanged. And the mirror, impartial as always, reflects the being, not the petition. The being. So the answer never changes, because the frequency of the asker never changes, because all the work went into the request and none of it went into the requester. This is the single most costly mistake in the entire field of manifestation, and it is invisible to almost everyone making it. Let me give you an analogy that will permanently change how you understand the art of asking. Imagine a tuning fork, a single metal instrument designed to vibrate at one specific frequency. When you strike it, it doesn't ask the room to vibrate at its frequency. It does not petition the air molecules to align with its signal. It simply vibrates at its exact frequency, consistently, completely, without apology. And here's what happens next. Every object in the room that shares its frequency begins to vibrate in response, not because they were asked, not because they decided to, but because resonance is the law. When you vibrate at a specific frequency, the universe does not decide whether to respond. It responds because it has no other option. The law of correspondence is not a preference. It is not a sometimes. It is not dependent on your worthiness or your effort. It is physics. The art of asking is not the art of petition. It is the art of becoming the tuning fork, vibrating so clearly, so consistently, so completely at the frequency of what you desire that the universe has no alternative but to bring you into resonance with everything that matches that frequency. You do not attract what you want. You resonate with what you are. And the asking that changes everything is not a question directed outward. It is a state adopted inward. Here is what that state actually requires. And I want to be precise about this because this is the part that most teachers leave vague enough to be useless. The genuine state of correspondence, the tuning fork state, is not a feeling you manufacture. It is not an emotion you perform. It is not a vibration you force through the sheer effort of wanting strongly enough. It is the natural result of one very specific inner act, releasing the experience of absence. Not the desire for what you want, the experience of not having it. These are different things, and most people never separate them. You can desire wealth without experiencing the absence of wealth. You can intend abundance without inhabiting the frequency of lack. You can hold a clear vision without standing outside of it. But to do this, to genuinely separate the desire from the absence, requires something more honest and more courageous than any manifestation practice has ever asked of you. It requires you to examine why the absence feels so real, why the gap feels so wide, why no amount of positive thinking closes the distance between what you intend and what you experience. And the examination always leads to the same place, the body-level belief that was installed before you could question it, the frequency you have been vibrating at, not because you chose it, but because it was calibrated by the environment you grew up in before you had the consciousness to recalibrate.
This is the inherited frequency. This is what the tuning fork is currently set to. This is what the mirror has been reflecting so precisely and so consistently that you eventually called it your life. The practical shift is this: stop asking for what you want. Start examining what frequency you are. Not what you believe consciously, what you are. At the body level, at the cellular level, at the level of the automatic, instantaneous, pre-conscious response your nervous system has to the concept of wealth. The tension or the ease, the contraction or the expansion, the subtle sense of belonging or trespassing that arises when you genuinely imagine living at the level of abundance you desire. That response is your current frequency. That is the tuning fork you currently are. And changing it is not about